How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk, guys. Latest updates of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the young girl that was found in the frunk of D4 VD's car, has kind of got to the point where LAPD, or we believe LAPD, is kind of like falling back. I don't believe that, even though the media is spreading that out there like wildfire. I don't believe that. I know right now it's about concealment and it's only going to be a misdemeanor. But concealment was never the end game. It's what started the questions, the whys. Concealment was never meant to be the end, it was the beginning. And now a lot of us may feel frustrated because the media could be taking LAPD's statements as if they've given up, as if they're just going to settle for concealment. But I don't think that's the case. Or I would like to believe that's not the case. I'm still going to hold faith into the narrative I put out there, that this is going to take time. And again, the public at this point does have a right to be mad, because it seems like we've gotten this far only to get this far. What started as the moment that led to all these questions, the concealment of the body, has now been looked at as if this is the end of the road, which means we're back at the beginning again. And that's not where we want to be. We want justice for Celeste. So the concealment of the body initiate all these whys, and those whys have to be answered, but those whys take time. So I'm going to go ahead and stay with my original narrative that we need more time. There's possibly still things left out there that have to be figured out, have to be answered. And even though there's a lot of people in the middle figuring out their own answers through whatever filter they're figuring it out from, I need to hear it from the lead. I need to hear it from the people that are in charge, because they are the ones that have been trusted to do what is right. And again, the concealment of the body of hers was the beginning of all this. And there's no way in hell we got this far just to get this far, just to be U-turned right back around to the beginning. I refuse to accept what the media is putting out there, that it looks like no one's going any further. It looks like it's only going to be concealment of a body. So I got something I've been working on today that I would like to read to you, and hopefully this provides some clarity. But the only way we're going to get justice for Celeste is to answer the whys that led to the concealment of the body. The concealment of the body was the beginning. It's not the end. It was the beginning. This is how it all started. And to find out that we made it this far just to be placed back at the beginning again, that's extremely frustrating. It really is. So there's a couple of areas I want to discuss real quick, starting with why hide the body. I'm going to have to revisit the whys. Guys, I did this so long ago when it came to possible motives. I covered this before anybody else was covering it. I jumped right on it because I just knew that would be the initial question that must be asked. Something simple in regards to knowing it has to be asked, but the answer to that question becomes a bit more complex. And as the case has evolved, the questions only get harder. But to be honest with you, it's not even about finding the answer. right now. It's about asking the right question. So what I want to do right now is take a heartfelt look at the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case and where we are at right now. I need to keep us motivated. Or for people like myself, I need to keep us inspired. So sometimes the loudest part of a case isn't the charge. It's the silence that follows it. And in this story, that silence surrounds one phrase that keeps echoing through the headlines: concealment of a body. No murder charge, no confirmed foul play, just that one haunting action. Someone hid a 14-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And this is a choice that speaks louder than words. Celeste's body was found in early September of 2025 inside a Tesla parked on a quiet Hollywood Hills street. A car registered to the artist known as D4VD, David Anthony Burke. By the time she was discovered, she had been gone for what we think is weeks, maybe months. The coroner still hasn't announced how she died. But even without those answers, the act of hiding her tells us something important. Someone knew this would look bad and decided that delay was safer than disclosure. Concealment isn't passive. It's not silence. It's movement. It's wrapping, driving, deleting, delaying. It's hands that could have called for help, choosing not to. So now, going back to the very first question that we probably thought of, September 8th, 2025, when her body was discovered. We didn't know who she was yet, but we knew there was a body discovered in the trunk or in the frunk of D4VD's Tesla. The question that probably came to all of our minds at this point was, what would make someone do that? What would make someone put a body in a frunk? Now, we can't speak for whoever hid Celeste, but we can look at the human patterns investigators see again and again, the reasons people hide the truth after a death. And maybe through that, we start to understand what might have happened here. And guys, a few videos ago, probably soon after the body was discovered, I discussed every possible motive. But we did stay focused on the relationship. We stayed focused on parasocial relationships and what happens when that breaks. There's a lot of good videos that if you look on my list, you go back to somewhere between like September 24th or September 26th. I mean, really look back at my very first videos because we broke it in a lot of different ways that people weren't seeing it and ways that are starting to come to the surface now. But there's a lot of information there that I think that you guys would appreciate even more so now than ever. And guys, more so now than ever. And guys, if you do like the material, please don't forget, I do have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. I have it in the description, the link to the description of this video, or I have it on the top of my YouTube channel. So we have panic after an accidental death. Picture a moment spiraling out of control. Teenager collapses. Someone panics. They freeze. Then flail. And in that instant, fear wins. If I can just make this go away, maybe I can breathe. In a case like Celeste's, where toxicology is still pending, this is one possible path. If her death was accidental, an overdose, a sudden medical emergency, then the concealment could have come from raw panic and not planning. But panic still leaves fingerprints. The delay in calling 911, the hurried choices, the missing hours, even if fear drove it, It was fear strong enough to bury a child instead of saving her. Then you got the fear of liability. Maybe it wasn't just panic. Maybe it was consequence. Someone afraid of what that moment could reveal. Drugs, alcohol, adults with minors, things that shouldn't have been happening. California law is clear. Giving substances to a minor can carry years in prison. So instead of help, they hit her, thinking they could outrun the evidence. But the evidence doesn't go away. Toxicology can still speak from a body weeks later. And the act of concealment, even if done out of fear, becomes a confession of its own. I knew what happened wasn't right. And I'm going to say that again. And the act of concealment, even if done out of fear, becomes a confession of its own. It states loud and clear, I knew what happened wasn't right. You also have protecting someone else. Sometimes concealment isn't self-preservation, it's misguided loyalty. A friend, a partner, someone pleading, please, you can't let them find out. It's the kind of love that twists into obedience. In a story like Celeste, where rumors of a relationship between a young girl and an older artist swirl, this motive hits close. Could someone have helped hide her to protect him, his image, his career? It's a question investigators are surely asking. Because protecting someone by erasing another person's dignity isn't protection. It's betrayal. What about protecting a secret? And there's the darker side of image. When you live in the public eye, every mistake feels like a threat. If Celeste's death exposed a forbidden relationship, one that shouldn't have existed between a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old man, or a 13-year-old and 18-year-old man, possibly 12 and 11-year-old. Mistakes weren't just legal, they were existential. A reputation, a brand, a future that could vanish overnight. And that fear that the truth would destroy everything might explain why help was never called and why Celeste's body was hidden inside a frunk instead of honored as it should have been. The truth wasn't just about a death, it was about a secret someone couldn't afford to let the world see. And you got buying time. You know, concealment is often about delay. Each day the truth is hidden, evidence fades. You look where we're at now. With Celeste's body, how her remains were discovered. And all we have left is toxicology report. In Celeste's case, weeks passed before she was found. Weeks in which decomposition erased clues and the timeline blurred. That's what concealment does. It doesn't just hide the body, it hides the answers. It buys time. And for families like Celeste's, every lost hour is another day they can't begin to heal. Then you have the obstruction, the destroying evidence on purpose. Sometimes concealment is panic. Sometimes it's strategy. If evidence was clean, phones wiped, or the car abandoned to confuse investigators, that's not fear, that's calculation. That's someone making sure that by the time Celeste was found, science could no longer speak clearly. And that's the cruelty of concealment. It doesn't just deny justice, it denies clarity. It leaves everyone, family, investigators, even the public, in a fog of uncertainty. And we all know, at least digitally, there were a lot of things erased, a lot of pages closed. what the labs are still trying to tell us. So forensic labs are still testing Celeste's toxicology. They'll look for drugs, toxin, traces of any substance that was in her system, the silent language of what happened. But decomposition, that clock concealment set in motion, makes every answer harder to hear. The car she was found in is also being studied, or was studied. Every fiber, every fingerprint, every data log. When was the front open last? When did the car stop moving? Those technical details may one day speak where humans refuse to. And then the heart of it, when someone hides a body, they're not just hiding a crime, they're hiding a person, someone's child, someone's laughter, someone's future. Celeste was only 14. She had her whole life ahead of her. Dreams, friends, music, the same things every young girl holds close. And now the world is asking, why didn't anyone protect her? Or maybe even more importantly, why didn't anyone tell the truth? Maybe it was panic. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was a secret that was never supposed to exist. But whatever it was, it ended with a child left in the dark. So again, concealment isn't just a legal term. It's a mirror. It shows what someone valued most in that moment. Their freedom, their image, their control. All over another person's humanity. So when you hear concealment of a body, in Celeste Rivas Hernandez's case, don't hear it as only a misdemeanor. Hear it as a question, whispered through every silent night her family waited for answers. What were they so afraid of for the world to see? Because sooner or later, the world will see it. The evidence will speak, the labs will finish, and the truth, the one someone tried to so hard to bury, will surface. And for Celeste, and for every parent still waiting for the truth to come home, we'll get our answers. But more importantly, we'll get the justice we need for Celeste. You know, I'm watching the news yesterday, and again, all you see is as if everybody's given up. And this is what happens when a case has been in the mainstream for a while, then all of a sudden it starts to die out because I think someone starts to paint the picture that it's okay to leave now because this looks like this is all we got. So push on to the next thing. It's okay to leave. It's okay to kind of give up and move on. So now we have to continue now and push just as harder. We're not done yet. Sorry, media, we're not going to accept that just yet. They're twisting a narrative from LAPD. I think they're aware that the concealment is a starting point, not the end result. And again, we still don't have the toxicology back. But once you get that toxicology, then it opens up everything all over again, because even if she did die of a drug overdose, we need to find out who gave minor drugs. You don't end there, you begin there. So I think there's a lot of effort right now that's going to start pushing away from this case. You're going to start to see it's not covered as much. You know, it's going to just lose some momentum. And to be honest, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it should go quiet for a while so we can let who needs to speak. But you don't want it to die either. So the quietness is really just patience. But in the end, we want something. And that something is justice. This case is just such a unique case because a lot of us feel the answers are right there, but for some reason we can't grab them. So we will accept anything that gives us some closure that we believe is correct. All I hope is right now we don't lose out on focus. I think patience is key during the quietness. but we still want people to know we exist. So maybe, you know, we stop asking why as judgment, but we do push whys forward as curiosity, because we want to know more. We want to know more. We want to know more. And then we feel that everything's at the table and that efforts should be going forward that aren't going forward, then we could shift the why. And then when we ask questions, it could be more about judgment. I just don't think we're at the judgment level yet. Right now, our why should be strictly about curiosity. And hopefully that curiosity will lead us to the final justice we need for Celeste. Now, guys, again, if you like the material, please don't hesitate. I have Buy Me a Coffee both in the description and on top of the YouTube channel. And as always, guys, stay safe.